Hello everyone, I'm DarkmanJ01, the creator and owner of Echoes of HEIAN. In this guide, I'm going to show you how to create a build for PvP, as well as go over some key information about game mechanics. I recommend checking the timestamps in the description to find the parts of the video you are looking for. Let's get started. First, we need to talk about race. Each race in Echoes of HEIAN has pros and cons, with different bonuses and nerfs to various stats. If you want to get the most out of your build, you will want to check what benefits your race gives. We will come back to this later with example builds for each race. Next, let's discuss stats and what they do within the game. There are 7 different types of stats. These stats can be increased through different items that you obtain in-game. In addition, each class has its own base stats, and leveling will naturally provide the player with plus 50 health, plus 1 strength, and plus 1 magic per level. The first stat is strength. The strength determines the damage from weapon attacks, along with class abilities such as Berserker or Samurai's Z move. The next stat is magic. Magic determines the damage of different magical abilities within the game, and provide bonus damage on weapon imbues M1s. Additionally, each magic stat you obtain from items will increase your maximum mana. The next stat is health. Health determines how much health the player has. This increases the amount of health you regenerate from healing magic, or by holding down G to rest, or by being out of combat. The next stat is defense. Defense determines how much block meter the player has, and raises the user's parry window slightly depending on the amount of defense you have. The next stat is attack speed. Attack speed determines how fast the player can attack, and how long your cooldown is between using an M1 combo. The next stat is speed. Speed determines how fast the player can walk and run. And the final stat is critical. Critical determines the percentage chance of a critical hit occurring. When a critical hit occurs, it will do 1.5x your strength damage. Each item you obtain within Echoes of HEIAN chooses 3 of these stats randomly. Additionally, each stat is randomly rolled within a range. How well these stats are rolled determines the rarity of an item, with gray, or common, being the lowest tier, and red, or mythic, being the highest tier. Having a higher rarity item means you are getting more stats for your build, giving you an advantage in combat. You can increase or decrease an item's rarity by using Echo Orbs at the NPC near the bandits in Yurei village. Echo Orbs re-roll the stat value on the item with the worst amount of luck, and leaves the others unchanged. This means that while Echo Orbs can decrease stats, over time, your items will become better and better. Additionally, each item's ability is random. While one Fox mask can have Frost Breath, another mask can have Spirit Warp, or Arcane Missiles, among other abilities. This property is true of all items. If you want specific details about what abilities an item can have, I recommend checking out the official game wiki in the description of this video. Choosing the right abilities is the key to making a successful build, and you should choose abilities that best fit your playstyle. To check your character's current stat bonuses, you can do so by visiting the Inspect menu in-game. Additionally, you can click on other players in the tab menu in order to see what builds they're running. In order to obtain the items you are looking for, I recommend checking out the NPC index in-game to see what enemies drop the items you want. Keep in mind that there is a level requirement to wear certain items, or get loot from specific enemies. You can also trade items with other players, or get gladiator items with PvP tokens. You can obtain gladiator items from doing the Faceless devotion quest, or by participating in the ranked PvP arena. Next, we need to cover status effects. There are currently 4 different status effects in the game. Status effects can be triggered in 2 ways. Either from hitting someone with an M1 attack while weapon imbued at about a 10% chance, or by hitting players with certain abilities. The first status effect is Burn. Players affected by Burn will take damage every second for 7 seconds. The amount of damage is determined by the user's magic stat and the base damage of the ability. Abilities that have the Burn effect include Fireball, Plasma Blast, and Lava Wave. The second status effect is Freeze. Players affected by Freeze will be stuck in place, have their attack speed reduced by 70%, and be unable to dodge or slide for 5 seconds. However, they can still parry, block, or use abilities while affected by freeze. Abilities that apply freeze include Frost Breath, Ice Blast, and the large spike at the end of Ice Smash. The third status effect is Paralysis. Players affected by Paralysis will be fully stunned for 1.5 seconds. While stunned, players are unable to move or use any actions, including abilities. Abilities that apply Paralysis include Lightning Bolt, Lightning Blade, Shadow Step, Soul Spear, and Dragon's Maw. The final status effect is Blight. Players affected by Blight will be unable to use abilities and will not regain mana for 5 seconds. This status effect is ideal for countering magic-based builds. Abilities that apply Blight include Soul Spear, Dark Pact, and Dragon's Maw. Choosing the right abilities that fit your playstyle is a huge part of creating your build within Echoes of HEIAN. While most abilities scale directly with magic, there are numerous abilities that don't require high magic to be viable, or they enhance non-magic builds. While I will not go over abilities in detail in this video, I highly recommend you spend some time looking through the ability list on the game's wiki to find what works best for you. Keep in mind that you are restricted to only using 3 magical abilities at a time, determined by the gear you are wearing. Now that we have gone over the basics of items and stats, I am going to go over each race, what bonuses they give, and suggest a recommended build for each. Keep in mind that the metagame is constantly evolving, so always make sure to be creative with your builds. All classes are viable with each race. If you are looking for a specific race build, I recommend checking the timestamps in the description. Human. Humans gain plus 10% strength, plus 10% defense, and have minus 10% magic. Humans are best used a defensive brawler build that does not rely on magic to be successful. They are unique in that they have the highest defense bonus in the game, making them ideal for defense-based PvP builds that are able to abuse the increased parry window to their advantage. The stats I would recommend you to focus on for items include strength and defense, with a good mix of health and attack speed. Elf. Elf gains 15% magic, plus 5% speed, and have minus 10% strength. Elves are best used as magic-based builds, but are unique in that they are the only race with magic and speed bonuses, but no defense debuffs. Elves are reliant on using weapon imbues when using M1s, so be sure to manage your mana correctly. The stats I would recommend you to focus on for items include magic and health, with a good mix of defense and attack speed. Though they do lose strength bonus, strength should not be ignored entirely, unless you have a lot of practice integrating weapon imbues into your M1 combos. Orc. Orc gains plus 15% strength, plus 5% defense, and have minus 10% attack speed. Orcs are a very flexible race that can run a multitude of builds. Orc can be successful using any stats, but I would recommend using strength as your main stat to get the most out of its strength bonus, but magic should not be ignored as well. The drawback of Orc is their lower attack speed, so if you are a class that has naturally lower attack speeds such as Berserker, you may be more reliant on class and magic abilities if you do not invest any of your stats into attack speed. Some example stat builds for Orc include a hybrid tank build with strength, magic, and health with a little bit of defense, or a more melee-focused build, such as a strength, critical with a mix of health and attack speed, and finally, strength, health and a mix of magic, and defense with a mix of attack speed. Oni. Oni gains plus 10% strength, plus 10% attack speed, and have minus 10% defense. Like Orc, Oni is an extremely flexible race that can fit into a multitude of builds, though I do recommend taking advantage of their attack speed bonus by building more offensive M1 builds. That being said, magic should not be ignored. Some example builds include attack speed, strength, and a mixture of critical and health. Strength, magic, attack speed with a little bit of health, and finally, attack speed, strength, and speed and health. Kitsune. Kitsunes gain plus 10% magic, plus 10% speed, and have minus 10% defense. Kitsune is also an extremely flexible race for builds, but unlike Orc or Oni, they receive a magic bonus instead of strength, making them an ideal race for magic or hybrid-based builds. While they have less magic bonus than Elf, they make up for it with no strength debuff and faster speed stat. I recommend using Kitsune for hybrid offensive builds, investing in both strength and magic. Some example builds include strength, magic, and a mixture of health and attack speed. And magic, strength and attack speed mix, and health and speed mix. Undead. Undeads gain plus 15% strength, plus 15% magic, and have minus 20% speed. Undead are unique in that they are the only race that currently has a speed debuff. To make up for this, they are the strongest hybrid race in the game damage-wise, being the only race to currently have both a strength and magic buff. The speed debuff, though, prevents Undead from having a lot of flexibility with their ability choices. Undead are most successful when using abilities that help make up for the speed loss, such as Spirit Warp, Shadow Step, or Lightning Blade to close the gap, or using ice abilities such as Frost Breath, Ice Blast, or Ice Smash to restrict your opponent's movement. For stat spreads, I highly recommend investing in strength, magic, and a mixture of health and attack speed to take advantage of their hybrid bonus. Yurei. Yureis gain plus 15% magic, plus 15% speed, and have minus 20% defense. Yureis are a slightly more min-maxed version of Kitsunes, and have the unique niche of being the fastest race in the game. Due to not having a negative strength bonus, Yureis are a great hybrid attacker, and have fantastic stat flexibility, which allows you to have a lot of freedom in your build without sacrificing any potential. The one drawback of Yurei is the steep negative defense bonus, making them susceptible to block breaks and lower parry windows. Some example builds include strength, magic, a mixture of health and attack speed. Magic, a mixture of strength and attack speed, and a mixture of health and speed. Or magic, health, and speed if you want to be a full mage build. Faceless. Faceless gains plus 20% strength, plus 10% attack speed, plus 10% speed, and loses minus 15% magic and minus 15% defense. Faceless is a powerful race, but has deep drawbacks that hurt its flexibility in builds. It is highly recommended to not build into magic with Faceless unless you wish to only use it for extra mana. Faceless shares Yurei's weaknesses of being easily block broken and having less parry window than other races. Faceless is best used as a full strength assassin build without any defense or magic. Some example builds include strength, attack speed, and a mixture of critical and health. Strength, critical, and then a mixture of attack speed, health, and speed. Or finally, strength, health, and critical. Please remember that these are just suggestions and should not be taken at face value. The game has just released and the PvP meta is young and evolving. Good luck making your builds, and I'll see you out there in the arena.